Hello everybody, Christian from Treasure Town here, and today I'm really excited. We are at Sam Sloat Coins Incorporated with Bob Walter, one of the owners, and this is a coin shop. Before there was one in my immediate community when I was 10, 11, and 12. I would remember visiting their other location, and so I saw their booth at the recent Whitman Fall Expo, and I was so excited, so I reached out and said, you definitely don't remember me, but I'd love to hear some of your perspectives on coins and currency, if you have any stories or anything that's special that you might want to tell. And so here we are with Bob. Thanks for being willing to shoot this, and I'm curious what the story that we're going to go over is today.
Hey Christian, I really appreciate your giving me this opportunity. When you asked if there were any interesting stories in all the years I've had as a coin dealer, the one that came to mind first was something personal that my dad had told me about. It took place during World War II. He had a medical deferment, but was working in a factory in Stanford. And on his way home from work one day, he found a wad of cash. It was over by the train station. He picked it up, counted it, and wasn't sure what to do with it, and decided he should stop off at the police station. They questioned him while he was there, took his name and address, and told him he should stop back in a couple of weeks. If no one had claimed the money, they would give it to him. And a few weeks went by, and my dad went back to the police station, and they informed him that somebody had come in the next day and had clearly identified the money. The person that had lost the cash was a sailor, and he was home on leave because someone in his family was fairly sick, and he was coming home to see if there was anything he could do to help and possibly even say goodbye. On his preparation to come home, all of his different buddies on the ship had chipped in some money to be able to give to his family member to help him through this time. And that was the money that this sailor had lost. My dad felt good because he knew it had gone to a good place, that he had done the right thing, and he forgot about it. A month or two later, he received a box in the mail, and in the box was a note from the sailor that had lost the money. And he had explained that when he got back to his ship in the Pacific and told all of his shipmates about what happened, they were so impressed with my dad's honesty that as a way of saying thanks, they all kicked in a pack of cigarettes from their rations, and they sent him 4 or 5 cartons of the types of cigarettes you just couldn't get in this, if you weren't in the army at the time or weren't in the service. And my dad was just overwhelmed and had told me that if he had his choice between keeping that cash or getting the cartons of cigarettes, he surely would have gone with the cigarettes. So my dad knew that the currency that he had found was something special because they had been produced for use in the Pacific Theater, specifically in Hawaii during World War II. Just in case the Japanese were able to overrun the islands, what the government had decided to do was stop printing regular currency. And they printed currency that was very similar in appearance to what we used on the mainland. But on these notes in Hawaii, they printed them with brown seals and serial numbers, and they had an imprint in small on the obverse where it said Hawaii, and then much larger on the reverse. So my dad knew when he found that money that it most likely belonged to a serviceman.
Wow, and so was this common to see the Hawaiian currency? It doesn't sound like it, and I would assume not, but it probably was pretty easy that was the link to finding the $140.
Well, on the mainland, no, we wouldn't see the Hawaiian currency. And the whole idea was that if the Japanese had captured the islands, we would just say that this is no longer legal tender and could no longer be spent. We did the same thing in North Africa during World War II with the North African invasion note. Instead of doing an overprint like we did in Hawaii, all we did was change one section, which would have been the seal on the $5 bill or the $10 bill, we changed it from blue to gold, so that if we were to lose in North Africa, if we were overrun, we would have said that all of that currency was no longer legal tender.
It's really fascinating to hear about the different strategies. In today's day and age, I'm not sure if they would implement that sort of thing, but I feel like it's a pretty smart move. Were there any other, I'm aware of the green seals that we use today. I assume that those are the only two main deviations in terms of being the North African and the Hawaiian. I'm aware of some red seals that would have circulated, but which were, what color seals were the bills that you were used to using when you were younger?
Well, for the most part, we used silver certificates with the blue seals and serial number, or we used regular Federal Reserve notes, which we do today, with green seals and serial numbers. We've also produced United States notes and legal tender notes that would have red seals and serial numbers on them, along with national currency. And the national currency also had the brown seals similar to the Hawaiian notes, but they also had very specific local banks endorsed each note.
Those are certainly a fascinating series of the United States history. I was researching a little bit about them, and I found that my hometown, there's only one. It was 1902. They had the $10 bills from Greenwich, and they were now trading in the $5,000 range, so a little bit out of my price point. But speaking of a relatively large amount of money, $140 today is pretty significant, but I'd imagine in 1945 it would have been a much bigger deal to not just pocket that for yourself and turn it into the authorities and be able to connect it to a serviceman. What was the sort of approximate range would you estimate that would have been worth back then?
$140 in 1945 would have approximately $2,000 worth of value today.
Now, again, it's not a choice that everybody would have made, but why do you think that your dad, in that scenario, decided to turn in the approximately $2,000 to the local authorities?
Well, I think the biggest thing was the tremendous sense of patriotism that we had in this country at that time during World War II. I don't know that it was ever an option for him not to turn the money in. And it's something that we've seen almost ebb and flow through the years. We saw that same sense of patriotism right after 9/11, when we stopped being divided and we were Americans and we just did what was best for this country. And I think we've actually seen that again during that first year of COVID and the quarantine, where we would have neighbors helping neighbors, people talking to each other that hadn't talked to them before, and you were doing things just because they were the right thing to do. So for my dad, I think it was a case when he found that money, it was a no-brainer. Of course, you would take that and turn it into the police station because it was the right thing to do.
Well, I hope that a lot of people can be inspired by this and continue the sense of patriotism and just doing your neighbor and fellow American and just general person right in the future. So thanks so much for sharing this, and I'm going to take a little spin around the shop. I really enjoy seeing the beautiful new shop here, but it's just been great to hear that recounting, and I hope that you have a really nice Christmas and 2022.
Thanks very much, and the same to you.
Thanks for watching the video. I'd encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel to stay updated. I've also got Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, so you can follow me there. TreasureTownYT.com is the main channel website. Definitely give that a visit. I've got a lot of information about me up there and the channel. CoinGrabBag.com as well currently redirects there, but it's some good opportunities for very fair grab bags, both made by me and other sellers. A lot of different options, so that's a good way to support. There's also TreasureTownCoins.com. In the future, my coin dealing operation will be done out of that website. CoinMeltPrice.com for updates on the melt prices of your coins, both US and world. A lot of resources in that website. And then CoinsMetalsCards.com being developed right now as a marketplace and news source for coins, metals, cards, and collectibles in general. So I'll see you on my future videos. Looking forward to seeing you there, and hope you have a good day.